It's not a phone app. So we're going to be recording intermittently just because as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. So again, it's an older style phone.
He gets that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. So I'm going to be giving, well, kind of show you how it works. You should be able to see me in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow. We're looking for blue and black. Those are the colder spots. I also have this, well, those cold spots, we're looking for them to take shape or to kind of take, movement in the shape of people, so to speak. So we have caught things with this. It is not on a nightly basis, but it is one of the coolest things to watch as far as all of the audio, the visual pieces that I do have. And it is super interesting just because of the science behind it. I also have it set up to where there's a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen. I'm sure you can see that a little bit. I'm going to move it around a little bit so that way it moves for you. Do you see a blue dot? It's right here. It's moving all over. Okay. So it has the temperature right next to it, and it's giving you the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. There's also a center crosshairs, so if we want to measure something directly, you just move your camera, and the center crosshairs will stay as a staple right in the center of the screen. So that way we can kind of compare different temperatures and kind of see what's going on. I normally look for 15-degree temperature drops or more, but again, the things that I have caught with this weren't always the coldest thing. They were just starting to form, and the camera person was moving way too quickly for it to be able to stick to that person to get to the coldest spot.
It's weird. I get an email about once a week from this company that wants me to test this equipment for my job.
Oh, perfect. So now you actually get a chance to see how it actually works. So I'm actually going to stop the video now, kind of give it a few minutes to calibrate, and I'll let you know when we're going to. So he's trying to bring all of his kids home. Eliza doesn't think he's dying, so she gets married. And it's 1744. You don't get married in 1744 for a green card. We're not a country. So again, she did marry him out of love. There was no foul play. A lot of people like to ask that. And even after his death, because they were only married for 14 years, she remained a widow the whole time, no foul play at all. But anyway, she was right. Dad wasn't dying, and he got better. He starts sending her gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happens to be plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been around town, you've seen the word indigo. This is basically where the cash crop started. She had to experiment with it. When she got the seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. She experimented with it here, moved it to a cash crop near the Stono River, just south of here.
About face, people.
I got nothing on that. But once she did figure it out, cash crop, she calls father up and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with the indigo. So now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. By the way, if you don't know what indigo is...
We did. We went to Boone's plantation
today. Teenagers, I normally have to explain everything. So you have to remember that. You're going to see me get excited on certain terms, and I say, oh, I don't have to explain what that is. Cool. But again, some people, they just don't know what it is. But the process to make indigo is actually pretty gruesome. There's a lot. It is
for the reward.
Yeah.
It was insane. This whole field or area they got now for 2 to 3 ounces. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it was expensive.
Yeah, sure.
So if you kind of think of the Civil War, the North, they had blue coats, right? That was because of the indigo. And the South had gray coats. That's just less indigo because we couldn't afford it because it was all being shipped out. So again, that's kind of like a weird little Charleston fun fact. But at any rate, here's the weird stuff that goes on here. I normally assign a series of questions because remember, most of my people have some kind of communication device. So I'm just going to kind of go through. You kind of cherry pick whatever you want. Obviously, the marriage question is a big one. How old was she when she got married? How old was Charles? The mansion's not here anymore. We can ask what happened to it. If we get an answer between our 2 spirit box, we can normally ask when it happened and get the full date. So that's the month, the day, and the year in digital format. So I've seen that in the past, numerous times. I get super stoked about that. The children, I already told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, but there are more. We can ask how many she had and what their names were, but that's it. Reason being is there's a tragedy among those kids. We don't poke the bear with this one because all activity will stop, even the little tiny 4s that I'm getting out of this guy. Last but not least, we can go through Eliza's death. So how old she was, where she's buried, what she died from, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So notice that none of these were yes and no questions, very specifics. Half of these things that we're going through tonight are common things that we get the answers to. Not to mention, most of this stuff I learned from doing investigations in this space night after night after night. I didn't learn about that president until it came through twice in 1 week. I'm like, there's got to be a tie there. Same thing, obviously I knew about the tragedy that happened to the house, but all of the other little details, that all came from research of, oh, I don't know what this means, I gotta look this up and see where the tie is. But again, there's little tiny details about all of those things that might pop up through your spirit box. So what else are you hearing at this point?
Oh, just music.
I got two names that don't make any sense to me. So names and numbers usually don't lie. There's a Peter on here and a James. And I don't know who either one of those two gentlemen are. So hopefully I can dive into that one a little bit and kind of see what's going on. I did get a 4.1. Spikes, just so you know how this guy works, in this location, I've seen an average spike here is about 18 to 22 milligauss. So that's usually like it'll spike up to 18 to 22 and then go right back down to 0. There's no electricity in here whatsoever. Nothing should be making this thing go off. I usually debunk things. Oh shit, my cell phone was too close, you know, those kind of things. You heard something a minute ago.
Misgiven.
You said 14 to 22 milliamps?
Over and over and over.
18 to 22 milligauss.
Okay.
So what are you most curious about? What do you want to try to get some answers for?
How did she die?
Eliza, I have Tammy and Tom here tonight. And that over and over and over again, it might be them getting tired of me coming here over and over and over again. That's kind of how I'm taking that. So Eliza, it's Nick again. I want you to tell us how, you wanted to know how she died?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how you died. And maybe the year. The year would be great too.
I got a gem. 93.
She died in 1793.
That's cool.
Thank you, Eliza. Now can you tell us how you died? This
Inspirational.
This is me very excited, by the way. It doesn't get any more clear than that.
Start your day.
Because you're doing so well with this, I'm only going to be writing things down that I feel might be relevant. Or something very odd that shouldn't be coming out of a radio. Again, there are some nights where somebody didn't hear anything all night long. It's amazing to me, but again, I know it's not easy for a lot of people. I say we do a quick lap and kind of see what we got going on, so that way we can get some footage of this place. Let's just do a quick lap, and Eliza, why don't you...
Give us something.
Eliza, tell us how you died.
Section in the world.
Pretty vague, but we're talking about ships, a section of the world. I mean, she shipped that indigo all over the world.
He didn't say that. He said something else. That's what he said.
That's a lot. Eliza, why don't you tell us how old Charles was when you married him? Seem to be pretty accurate with numbers tonight.
Ooh.
I got absolute zeros over here. Try that corner up there. I'm still looking. Might give this one to you too. Here, can you drink too? Oh, never mind. Busy with both of them.
If I get too much going on, I'm not going to be able to think of something.
place at all. We're in the dead center of the damn park. Like, I'm excited about the 12s and 13s. Like, I'm hoping to get, I mean, I've seen this thing go pretty crazy in here.
A truck and an SUV.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't
That's
know
what they
the
drove.
Yeah. With
Horse
a horse
drawn.
in front of it, yeah.
How many horse were in that? Oh, about 330.
Okay, Eliza, let's get some answers. You know the questions we're asking. I ask them every night. You know how to use all these boxes I have out here. 9.9. Probably don't break down anything above that 18 at this point. Otherwise I'll have a whole book full of numbers. Anything crazy going on with your camera?
Nothing.
Nothing you can see? The cool thing is I actually send that over to YouTube, so you guys can watch it however you want. TV, your tablets, your phones. Sometimes watching things on that small screen, it's not always a real-time catch. Anything else coming through?
Music.
Can you understand the
They
lyrics?
said music.
Oh, they said the word music.
They're Zeppelin fans.
No more spikes on me either.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
Be careful. Alright, so I say it's answer time. Go ahead and give your hands a break and go ahead and cut that video. So, have you heard any names? I know we were all chatting. Let me see what came up on mine. I'll explain why. Oh, I get the word lick. I don't think we're going to be licking the damn ground in here. Building. Interesting. I don't think I've ever even seen that term on there before, to be honest with you. I've been using this app for like 5-6 years. Love it. It's usually a staple. Like, I have to have it.
So how does that work? What is that?
So it's going through all the FM frequencies right here. That's all the hertz for the signals. And if it recognizes a term, it has 9,108 terms in its dictionary. If it recognizes something, it puts it up on the screen. So basically the game we're playing is...
Putting a timestamp on it.
Yeah. Is it coming from a ghost, or is it just some random piece of BS? Most of it's going to be BS. Is this a fun little drinking game for college kids? Absolutely. That's why I usually give that disclaimer at the beginning that only 20% of it's going to be actually relevant. But I still give you the full list, because sometimes something is in this list that is relevant to somebody else on the tour, that they brought somebody with them, and they didn't see the list until the next day when I brought it. So I still give you the full list back. For example, one girl emailed me back the next day, and she's like, my cat's name is Radar, and my grandma's name is this. I can't remember what the grandma's name was. All three of them were consecutive. It said cat, Radar, and then the grandmother's name. So, and it was a recent passing. So again, I was like, I got to give the full list just to make sure things like that do occur, because when you have a personal thing going on with it, it's definitely memorable, and you're going to come back and see me again. So again, is it a marketing thing? Yes, but it's also like, holy cow, that was a great moment for you.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited about it. But I'm sure the word lick is not relevant in any location, and we're going to be going to it all tonight. The bike is still up there. I was like, who's sitting up there? So here's why I was asking you for names. When we came down the last crosswalk, when we crossed that street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So this is one of the first streets we ever had. Now, the interesting thing is that these two buildings weren't here. These little tiny shotgun houses were here. I have the full list of residents of the people that lived here. Now, you guys normally tell me the same two names every 6 to 7 weeks. And we're in week 7 of that loop. So those two names are Benjamin and John. So again, I'm always searching extra heavy in the spot check in this location during week 7, just because we normally get those names. Now granted, there were 4 different Johns that lived down here in a 60-year time frame. John likes to give us his last name to clarify that it's Johnson. His mother was evil. She named him John Johnson. I hate it. But again, we'll hear John, Johnson, and Benjamin all in the same evening. Do I have anything relevant about Benjamin or John? Nope. Other than the fact that we're standing on Belgian blocks. Here's why this is actually happening. These bricks have been here since 1739 that we know of. Historians still can't even get it right. Now, the stone tape theory is what we're trying to go after here. Now, And what does that basically state? Any natural element from the earth, which these are made of granite, can hang on to the consciousness and memories of the things that occurred here if they've been in the same space long enough, and kind of put them out there on a loop. So again, with these being here a few hundred years, it makes sense. I didn't even put all that together until about, I don't know, 6 to 8 months ago, and I was like, shit, I think we're dealing with the stone tape theory in Lodge Alley. So again, Benjamin and John, same things over and over and over again. The other weird thing that we get down here is that the reason why this is named Lodge Alley is because the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge down here. So we do get things relevant to the Freemasons. With that, you guys will hear the term Illuminati as we're entering. We haven't even talked about Freemasons yet. Here's the funny thing about that. Who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? Like, that's what you're listening to.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's always a first clue. Second thing is, why are we only hearing it here? So 6 times last year alone. So far this year it's been 3 times. Kind of a much lighter piece, but it has happened. So, and I verify every one of them because somebody will tell me, I just heard Illuminati, like chuckling it off. I'm like, yes! You know, they have no idea why. But again, I get excited because that's something I can verify, and it's usually out of a recordable device. So I get stoked about those. But again, we will get Freemason, Mason, brick, symbols, you know, all of those weird little things that are mysterious about the Illuminati. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories with you guys, but this is ghosts. But the piece of this is all about the stone tape theory. We're not here to ask questions. It's a matter of, like, did you hear names along the way? Did we get anything else? Well, by the way, often we'll get a third name. The name is Jane. And when I say people live down here, by the way, it's only like 2 to 5 people at a time. So when I have Benjamin and John Johnson from 1801, that's 2 out of 5 people that lived here. Jane is a third person. And we don't hear the name Jane too often. You hear plain Jane as a phrase, but you don't hear the name Jane in general. So again, that just solidifies a lot of things, especially if it comes in the same night of a Benjamin and John night. So again, this is a weird space. We don't spend a lot of time here. The next alley we're going to go to, I can't take you all the way through it. So I've been kicked out. I have all the blinky lights and the noisemakers, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds now. But I've been sneaking in on the one end the past couple of weeks, just kind of staying out of the way of the neighbors. It is residential on the opposite side. And I'll tell you why I got kicked out of there once we're in it, and it'll make a whole lot more sense. But this is a residual ghost. I just kind of like to linger here for like 5 to 7 minutes, tell you the history of it. If something pops up, especially in week 7, I'm usually very excited because now I'm really focused on moon phases, temperature, you know, those kind of things. And you're going to see like a full weather report basically at the top of your data set because I've been keeping track of everything. The tools that were used, how many people, so forth and so on. It just makes more sense for you guys to have all that data when you're going through it. Anything else that you may have heard before we leave the space? I'm still on lick, which means, unless they're trying to say my name, which could be a possibility. Somebody with a list is trying to say Nick. So, was that rude? It may have been, but we're going to move on. So
Good, man. We got like 50 cents on the next cigarette.
sorry, man, I got nothing on me.
Like, you got a cigarette?
I got smoke. Scotchman over there. I parked right above it and trying to get something out of it. I didn't recognize the damn hat back. We got another lady that walks around on a cane and got a bunch of bags attached to it. And you're both pretty large people, and I look at it this way. If you're asking me for money for food, you don't look like you're not hungry.
No.
When he came out, I was like, what the fuck?
Now I caught him out of the corner of my eye.
Harvest Club. That's weird.
Harvest Club?
This place.
Nobody knows it.
This place used to be called, like long time ago, we're not even going to discuss it, but used to be called Cow Alley because they used to keep the livestock down here. So sometimes we'll get the word cow. We used to harvest it. That was my first thing that popped in my brain. It was like the long history of this location because they actually, it was like kind of cut off from Cumberland Street. So all the livestock was just kept all in here for the city. Yeah, kind of a weird thing to
Language.
do.
I just heard language.
Maybe them girls down there are cursing it up. Language.
And weather.
That's only because we were just discussing the weather. So welcome to Philadelphia Alley. This is a weird location because there's a lot of history, and it's normally a staple for ghost tours. So if you take another ghost tour while you're down here, they're going to bring you here. But we're going to discuss different details of the story that everybody tells down here. We're going to keep out of there. It looks like they got a new puppy. I'm going to keep that in mind. I don't want to disturb the puppy. Sorry, my wife works with animals, so...
So does mine. Oh, I'm just kidding.
She actually just left retail herself. Like, she's jumping ship because she's working on her master's in animal behavior, and she got a position with Banfield, like the veterinary. So she is super stoked. Like, she has been in retail just almost as long as I was in retail, so she's finally leaving that to get into her field. So I'm pretty stoked for her. She was already
awesome.
Yeah, and she's like really good with nutrition and you know, getting dogs the right amount of food and that kind of thing. Like, she has calculations she can do, and we've seen some natural wonders with dogs that she's already been working with. So she's pretty smart about that stuff. Anyway, and I have 3 dachshunds, in case anybody was wondering if I actually had animals myself. So 3 little, let the wiener dog jokes begin. I'm sure they're all in the back of your brain right now. Every guy has them. So I have 3 wiener dogs. So, but anyway, this place...
We had one cool one and one stupid one, but...
Mine, one of them is an ESA for me. If he was actually out here with me and I didn't have to handle all the equipment, which he would have been, he would actually be in a perfect sit right now, just waiting for his next command. Because when he has his vest on, he knows he's working. Just kind of keeping an eye on things. I have another one, she's a female, but she is a silver boarhead wire hair.
Oh,
so
I
she
think she's
looks
so
like
pretty.
she's adorable. Like, she looks like a teddy bear just running around. And she's got the most weight out of all 3 of them. And then we just acquired a hospice guy with no teeth.
Aww.
So this guy tries to play with the other ones. I'm like, dude, you can't bite back. Like, you can't do it. You're all gums, I promise you. But it's funny because my ESA, he is a piebald dapple. So he looks like a chocolate chip cookie on top, and he's got milk on the bottom.
Oh.
And then Emily is brown, and then Dante is black. So it is... I told my wife, nobody can call us racist because we have a mixed, we have a brown dog, and we have a black dog. So again,
That's kind of us. We have a black dog, a black and white dog.
And everything cat.
And everything cat. We have a border collie.
Okay.
He's 75 pounds. He's my baby. And then Pretty Kitty, she's my baby. She's really the queen.
Because,
and she's
because
like
she showed up.
pounds.
We've had her 17 years. Showed up soon after her mom died.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we keep saying she's Ethel.
And she's half human, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then there's Crazy Maisie.
So I just did the math in my head. My 3 dogs together don't make up half of your dog.
Oh, no, they don't. Even our small dog.
Yeah, because, I mean, Byron's 12, Dante's about 10, because, again, he's still putting on an extra pound or so, and then Emily is 16. So, yeah.
Well, he's the biggest dog we've ever had.
Bigger than Lady. Yeah.
And he thinks he's a lap dog. And he lays on the back of the couch. And
Yeah. Well, all 3 of mine do that. Obviously because of their size. But if I'm working in my office, I've got one behind me in my chair, another one in front of me, and then Dante can't make it up there because he's older.
Right.
So he has a bed on the floor. But yeah, I'm sandwiched.
I
between
usually
the 2.
can't push my chair in when I'm working at home.
Well, I'm typing like this. It's a good thing I
Yeah.
type 90 words a minute because, again, I'd never get done with the 2 dogs sandwiching me. But anyway, enough about my crazy animals. I've seen a puppy and I'm like, oh, rampant puppy. Make sure we stay out of their way, give them
See
space.
if this killer's linked.
Oh, we're about to talk about a duel. How about that? That's
How
pretty
about
cool.
that?
So, this is Dueler's Alley. This is the story we all tell down here, but again, different details. Here's how it goes. Doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd.
Riley.
I got nothing on that.
It's not really a period name, I guess.
No. Last name, yes. Because we would have had some Irishmen in late 1700s coming this way. So O'Reilly would have been more of a term. But anyway, so he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to, actually, you have those shoes. He's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So she has all this cash and an attorney helping her out with it, but the attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. He tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. So he comes down to Charleston to prove that he's not. Coachman that brought him in town set him up to be robbed and killed. Wasn't a good start to his stay here. Somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. That's why I stopped when you said Riley, because we have the letter R. Now, the interesting thing about Ralph Isaacs is he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. We get the letters R-I here all the time. Even before I have another like Ouija board type digital Ouija board spirit box. Even before I had that, we are still getting the letters R and I separated in this location, but it's two different main characters. We need a secondary clue, always. But anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, I know this guy, man. He's going to try to kill you. Don't go inside. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can go rent a room from them, and you'll be good to go. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends.
You can crash my party.
The longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, she's hearing crazy shit right now, the more money he's making. So that means he's proving his point. He didn't want Amanda's money, and Amanda's moving down soon so they can get married. He's a pretty happy guy. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. So every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. So we actually have proof of this one, and I'm going to get to that. But anyway, him and Ralph go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. That's the way the hierarchy goes. So one night they go see Richard III from Shakespeare. On the way home, they're arguing over the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. It's even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée Amanda back home in Rhode Island. So obviously it gets ugly, they go their separate ways. Ralph has a lot of friends here. He's not from here, but he's got some friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society kind of mentality. The doctor sees the ad and he says, let's go to Dueler's Alley. Let's settle this shit once and for all.
Oh.
So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot his one shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up, which is often what happened at a duel, by the way. But Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd drops to the ground, and, well, he's still pissed.
And he doesn't have a shot left.
Yeah, that's all he's got. So his friends, the doctor's friends pick him up. They carry him home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later after refusing
from the
medical
infection.
treatment. He tried to bleed it out himself. So some stories will tell you that the second best doctor came into town and tried to help him and all these other things. But again, all the research that I found basically states that he tried to bleed it out himself and he refused other medical treatment. So, weird things go on down here. The campfire ghost story that you're going to hear from every other tour is that you can hear the whistles from the doctor while you're walking through here. And that is true. If you hear how quiet it is right now, it's always like this. Even on a busy Saturday afternoon, we're about 2.5 blocks away from East Bay Street. You can't hear it over here. It's weird. I have whistles as you're going through here. If you're going to try this on your own and you're going to walk through here without me one night or one day, turn on your voice recorders from your phone. But keep in mind, every local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street, throw a whistle down the alley. I do that every single night. So we're going to end over there, but my garage is this way. I have to pass the alley in order to get to my vehicle. So again, I do it every night, especially since I got thrown out of here. So here's how I got thrown out. Here's the fun part. At the end of the alley, like, we're allowed to go down halfway because it's residential on the other half. I used to take my group all the way through here, and I had a couple other stories that I told on the other end, and we'd investigate a crazy building, which I was super stoked about, and I got pissed when I couldn't go there anymore. But anyway, one night I'm bringing my whole group down here, and I used to take them and show them off the bricks at the end of the alley because I told you this was cut off. So that means the bricks down there are older. They're sun-dried bricks from slave children. We have one full handprint from a slave child and fingerprint swabs. You guys probably seen those at another place because they're in 3 different places around town. But my team always wants to stop and try to put an EMF detector, get a spirit box reading, something. That kid's not staring at the brick in the afterlife. You know, he's a slave kid.
It's the last thing he wants to see. He wants to throw it.
Yeah. So, one night, November 28th of 2020, my entire team wanted to get a reading. They're all circled around this brick. It's a full team of 10. I'm trying to shoo them along because it's outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. But the new owner came out, not real happy. Come out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was about 14 at the time. And we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. So that was November 27th. So I didn't do a tour that night because I told you I worked for Walmart for X amount of years. I'm not working Thanksgiving ever again. So Black Friday, put that in the back of your brains. So the next day was Black Friday. I get a phone call from the tourism office asking me to go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do because that's the cutoff point, or to reroute my groups. So I told my team that night, because I had a full team again, we went to the outside of that white building over there. I told them what I just told you about the doctor and the duel, and I said, I don't believe this next story. We're going to dive in. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person, but you're in Charleston. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do know about pirates here in Charleston, and we're going to see what happens and wing it. They were fine with it because it's Black Friday weekend and they're having a blast, right? So before we left, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we are going to be investigating the female pirate Anne Bonny. You think of pirates, you automatically think of Blackbeard and, you know, crazy dude captains,
I know
right?
that.
Not a female. So I'm like, all right, maybe something's going to go down. And I had been at that location plenty of times to know, like, I normally don't get much. We get up there, I told a little bit what I did know. Somebody else hears the number 300. And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell that means. I'm going to have to look into it in the morning. We're there November...
They're from Sparta.
Well, we're there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720.
Oh, wow.
300 years.
So I was like, God damn it, I gotta learn about pirates. I've read more books about pirates since then. Again, I'm a vampire guy, so that's my pirate, you know, my lore that I love. Everybody's got something. Mine is vampires. I've read more shit about pirates since then. The story we're about to go through next is a little bit nuts. Everything I'm about to tell you, because trying to piece together a factual tour based off of pirate lore can be difficult. So the research is a matter of more than one resource told me every sentence that I'm about to go through at the next location. So at this location, you don't have your earbud in, but we never know what's actually going to occur here. We do get a lot of bleed over from this space also into the next location over at the Powder Magazine, which I'm sure that they pointed that out to
I've
you.
heard back like 3 times. And under 9.
They're playing golf.
Yeah, but the number 9, none of that is relevant to the doctor, but I don't know if it's not relevant to Ralph. I know all the doctor's numbers of his birthday, his age, his death date, like all of those things. What's weird is we normally get the number 7 here. Dr. Ladd's birthday was July 7th, 7-7. We normally hear it twice. There's a lot of 7s that go on with this next corner. I will also tell you as we go up to the next space, like you'll stop recording as we get closer to that that group over there. They didn't pay to get filmed, you guys did. But we're just going to stay out of the way of the other tours up there. It's not a busy night. We're just going to kind of find a corner, and I'll give you the history, and then we'll do a full-blown investigation like what we did over at Pinckney Mansion site. I'll break out the EMF meter again. We don't normally get much with that, but we never know. But with this location, the number 59 is relevant. Obviously, that's the address. The word doctor, we'll get medicine, doctoral, anything relative to somebody.
795.
See, these are the things I need to write down. $7.95. Who the hell is trying to sell something for $7.95? Unless that's $795.
You said Walmart. It's a special.
They don't end anything with a 5 or a 9.
No? 8s, 98.
6s and 8s. And if it's on clearance, it's double zeros. Because there's never anything on sale. They have rollbacks.
Right.
It'll go down to $16.98 from 1747, but it won't go down to $16.99. They never end things with a 9 or a 5.
Huh.
Go to a Walmart next time and look around. Like, damn,
Yeah,
that guy was right.
I think I knew that for some reason.
Yeah, 11 years in that company. I think I learned how the damn tags work. All right, let's head up to the next corner. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, by the way, that gate we were just standing next to, that was in the event there was a loser to the duel. That was a shortcut to get to the cemetery. Otherwise, remember, this was shut off.
Right.
They had to go all the way down and around Queen Street to get to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. So to carry dead weight that far, let's just put a gate here. That way we can go get a pint and celebrate the winter. Not many people know why that gate is actually there. That's the reason why I stopped there, so I remember to tell you that. I've been doing I've been lining everybody up along that wall over there for the past, I don't know, year. I just now, the past few weeks, started sneaking in on this side. I'm like, well, let me get them inside. Maybe we'll get some shit out of it that way. Is this what you guys thought you were getting yourselves into, by the way?
Not at all.
No?
I thought we were going to cemetery.
No. And yet you were the one that told me, I always thought that anyway. That's funny. No, I meant you introducing you to the homeless people we have.
I mean,
So, you know, one thing we haven't heard about, like you did in Puerto Rico, because Charleston was a naval and maritime location. So, Old San Juan was all, well, whorehouses and sanitariums from the clap. Is why all the sanitariums, and that's pretty much all San Juan was. And you haven't heard that any of that in Charleston.
107.
Tukey.
Now that I said it, you're going to hear like 12 of them.
107 is the restaurant I go to, and it's my favorite place in Paris.
You really have been all over, huh?
Yeah, Paris, Texas.
Oh.
That's where I just finished up. But, and actually, it's a preacher who owns the restaurant, but the food is amazing.
How about yada, 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 yada?
Oh, who is that?
Teenagers that tell me that song all the time. See, now you guys get to have a seat before our last hurrah. So, did you guys happen to notice that there's like a tour over there by the church?
Yeah, so.
That's everybody's big finale. I let them have it, and I explain why. Because my, I don't want to say gimmick, is the tools. But every tour guide goes up there because of the sign that's on the other side of that cemetery. There's a sign right inside the gate that says, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." And there's a reason for it. The church put it there.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
1888, a young lady died by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials. We still get her initials over here. Sue Howard Hardy. Shh. Happens all the time. It's kind of creepy. And it will show up in different formats, too. But anyway, she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. So, very sad story.
Oh,
they make it
wow.
this big, long drama, which is fine. Let them have it. But 1987, 99 years later, a photographer is taking pictures of all of the cemeteries, and he captures a full apparition in one of them. So it's kind of their one show and tell. They only show the photograph. It is a pretty famous photograph for guys like me, but the picture is cursed. Here's what's going on with it. He didn't know what was going on with the photograph, so he sent it to Kodak. And normally, this is one of my jokes where I say, I don't have to explain what Kodak is. That's great. Because when I get teenagers, they think it's a bear. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But at the same time,
Wow.
Kodak doesn't know what to do with the photograph. So they just send it back to him with a big old fat question mark. They have no idea. So for guys like me, this thing's gold. But the curse is to females. Any female that handles it, even in a digital format like this, is going to get the same symptoms we talked about before. Headache, nausea, dizziness. So I usually ask my group, I'm going to go around 2 by 2, don't touch my damn tablet, because the other piece of it is that if a pregnant female is not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the stillborn baby in the story. So I'm not going to be the guy where somebody had a great vacation, and 9 months later I cursed the family. So I always say, just don't touch my damn tablet. And I normally let my daughter tell this story when she's on the tour. Go ahead.
I would say it's the ring.
Yeah, pretty much. So, again, I take this very seriously, so people kind of chuckle about it, but I'm like, yeah, don't touch my tablet. I'll zoom in on it for you. That's why I'm here. So this is the full picture that he took. Your apparition is right here. This is a woman praying over her own grave. This is Sue's grave with the baby basket right next to her. So you're looking at her back. So, again, this is probably another instance where the baby's buried with mom. Because I can't find any records from the church of the birth or death of this child at all. So it is a very weird instance, because I was also looking for the census records for Sue and her husband Gaston, so I can find out where they lived. I thought maybe I'll get a leg up on them and take people to where they actually lived, or at least a site of where they lived. Those census records were destroyed in a fire. So it literally skipped, because you know census is every 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's the 1 year that's missing. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I got to go back and see if I can rifle through the previous set and see if they were here, because she's obviously a native, because she is buried on that side. You can only be buried on that side of the church if you're from Charleston.
Oh.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, there's 2 different sides. On the other side of the ivy wall is for everybody else. So there's 2 different sides.
only one bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted you to think otherwise.
Now, Charles Pinckney, the husband, and Charles Pinckney, the nephew, are both buried on the other side because they're from here. But John Calhoun, your 7th vice president,
Yeah.
another 7, is not from here. So he's over on this side.
Really?
They shuffled
Even
his
though he
asses.
was in the family.
Well, I want to say like he's originally from he was born in Colombia, but his family lived here. So he's not a native to
Right.
Charleston. So he gets buried on the other side, and there was a lot of like toggling him back and forth. Like he's in a sarcophagus, so take 8 guys and just shuffle them. You know, and it's basically what happens. So he sits on this side. And that side of the cemetery, the western side, is usually open during the daytime, so you guys can actually go visit. Some tours will actually take you through there during the daytime, but it's not open at night. I think they close down at sundown. But we're here for pirates. Let's kind of get into that. I need a drink. You guys are making me talk a lot. Oh wait, that's my job, isn't it? The moon must be off a little bit. Oh, yeah, it's way over here. I was gonna say, when the moon is next to the steeple, like that's the perfect touristy picture. Like everybody stops and wants to take the. When we have the full moon, it's usually right next to the steeple. It's beautiful.
That would be cool.
We're at the Powder Magazine. Did you guys notice the crosses on the building?
I just heard Jesus.
Oh, it's because we're next to the church. It happens pretty much on a nightly basis. You're going to hear more religious terms. Notice you didn't hear anything else prior to that. It waited until we got over here. But you can actually see, like, Tom, if you look at... Seems like it's a slow night out here. Yeah, this is normally where I just, with all these people, can I get 10 people? I'm like, just go have some fun with it. It's pirates. Everybody's into pirates but me. So go do it up. Let me know what you find.
I just got revival. How about that?
What was the other religious term you heard earlier?
Jesus.
I got prayer. Right? Jesus.
Touching you.
Not now. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
I hate to put it this way, Tom. I think you're talking to me.
You know. 28 years. Yeah. So what kind of church is this? Or what kind of church was it that they can't be buried on one? Was it church specific or Charleston? Where you had to be from here?
Church. So again, you have one side over there, that's
And
natives, and then this side's for everybody else.
And what church is this?
This is St. Philip's Episcopalian.
Episcopalian?
Yeah.
So England.
Yeah.
There was a name and it said life, but I couldn't understand what the name was.
Crazy sign.
Oh, that's it.
I can't say that I've even ever been in on this side. In my 5 years that I've lived in the Charleston area and coming down here, it's never been open for me to go walk through it.
Really?
There's actually a couple of churches that are like really, you got to catch them at the right time. The Unitarian Church is one of those, and that is what they call a garden graveyard. It's overgrown on purpose because there's a lot of like hidden type of headstones in there, a lot of prominent families, and there's an Edgar Allan Poe story that goes along with that. Annabelle Lee, the poem, that's allegedly where she's buried.
Oh, really? In the garden cemetery?
Father put her there because Edgar Allan Poe was actually stationed at Sullivan's Island. He was under the name Edgar Perry, and he fell in love with the Ravenel daughter. That's a pretty prominent name around here. Dad didn't approve of the poet, the writer, because he was poor, so he knew his militia captain and actually had Edgar sent away, and the Ravenel daughter died while he was away. So what the father did was he allegedly buried her in that church, but there's 2 different headstones, and they're both unmarked, so that way Edgar could never go visit her. So they say that she actually wanders around. That's like a Lady in White type story.
Right.
But my wife and I actually walked through there. We caught it one afternoon. We were walking. I was like, let's go check out Unitarian. Let's see if we can finally get in there and get some footage. But she took a lot of pictures up there. But yeah, you see that light over there?
Yeah.
That's the one. Notice it's different from all the other ones aren't even on tonight. But there's other posts in there. But you can definitely tell that it's a direct, like you're not supposed to be in here kind of thing. the other side of that wall back there is Philadelphia Alley. Where we just
Oh,
were.
where we
Where
were.
we were, yeah.
There's all kinds
So
of...
that was the shortcut right over there.
Well, the shortcut was across that courtyard over there. But this wall probably wouldn't have been here, so they probably would have been able to come straight over through the courtyard. Because the cemetery like goes back and around. It's pretty deep back there. But as far as the pirate lore around here, like there's a lot. And just on this corner. Did you guys go down to White Point Garden at all?
Yeah.
Down by the Battery? That ghost story is bogus, but it does tie into a legitimate, actual piece of factual story.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing at all over there?
Nope.
Well, let's head back over to the powder and see what we get. You say touching you earlier?
Mm-hmm.
I got the word touchdown, like football touchdown.
Recovery and fever.
Oh, I'm sorry.
England either way.
My mistake. Hey, man. What do you want to tell us tonight?
One of the cells, I guess.
A cell
And
window.
I
A
saw,
jail
like,
window.
A light, like really quick, and I was like, somebody just walked in there and put on a flashlight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nobody on that floor. That was the only light
Did
I
you get it
saw.
on film?
No,
What the hell?
I was actually on the other side of the trolley too, and nobody else saw it. I thought it was kind of cool.
Now I got near. Alright, so I'd say we head back to the wall. I give you the answers to these measly little questions. Obviously, you're not getting much out of that guy besides Spanish music, which is still relevant, even though you can't
Well,
understand
it's
it.
not even music; it's just they're talking.
No.
But
Maybe I can
now
interpret
it's
it.
something I don't
If
know.
I hear it in the morning, I'll see if I can interpret it. So, 4 years of Spanish in high school has to mean something somewhere.
Yeah, that
It's been a minute, but
well, yeah. High school, and most of
Something's
the people
not
that
true.
work for
It
me.
just said that.
well,
It's
I
not
worked
true.
at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like many, many moons ago,
Yeah.
and when they were hiring people there, it was you had to speak a second language, and I spoke. Yeah, so I worked in a music store. I was working for FYE at the time, and they were taking over for whatever Canadian store was in there. So they got the Canadian store out, and I went in because I knew how to read blueprints from being a welder before, and they brought me in, and they're like, "Do you speak a second language?" I'm like, "I speak, pretty fluent Spanish," but yeah, I had to use it often.
Oh.
The only thing I didn't know was
every day.
the money conversions.
My job, like I said, I just finished in Paris, Texas. Wasn't so much there. Before that, I was in Ontario, California. It's all Spanish, but they're all bilingual. Extremely, you wouldn't know. Now then we were in Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was all Spanish. And now I'm outside Chicago,
Yeah.
and there's people in the plant that don't speak English. And
Wow.
Pennsylvania was that way too. They were all Dominican in Pennsylvania, but it was in the middle of between Allentown and Reading, and it's all. I was like,
Are those
what is going on here?
Well, it can't be where they're
I
sending.
grew up in New York, so I was like, this is really strange. And then I was in Mexico City for 7 months, so
Yeah.
But,
picked it up, I'm sure, pretty quickly.
yeah.
Oof.
Well,
You said
I'm a
you do a whole lot about
recruiter.
nothing.
They
That's what-
speak Spanish all the time.
Right, and then
Turkish.
like one of the guys he used to work for me in Dallas 4 years ago, and a couple of them, and we were at the plant the other day, and of course, they all speak Spanish, and he kept telling them, well, Tom kind of knows what you're saying some of the time, and they were like, oh.
I actually had a group, was it Sunday? It was my first week back after the hurricane, and I look up area codes, for your phone numbers. Well, I noticed I couldn't text them because I use Google Voice for business, and it doesn't text internationally. So I was kind of like, okay, so I look up where he's from, Israel. So I sent him an email with the same text I sent you, so that way we'd have a communication line. and I seen a little bit of broken English in there. So when I met up with the family, I was like, is there going to be any kind of language barrier? Because he was the only one talking. It was a family of 5.
From Israel?
From Israel.
Spoke English?
Not all of them.
No.
Yeah. Is that Arabic over there?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so.
It's Arabic.
I mean, I seen like some of the thing in his email signature. I'm like, that looks like Arabic to me. But again, 2 out of the 3 kids didn't speak any English at all, and then the mom spoke very broken English, so he was interpreting a lot. So, and they couldn't listen to anything, so all the spirit boxes were out. So it was like, there's no way.
Right.
I made it a completely visual tour. I've never had to do that before. Needless to say, it was pretty short because I didn't really give them the time to, listen to anything because there's nothing to listen to.
Right.
So that was an interesting piece, and it was a lot of there was a lot of boredom out of the kids because they don't understand me.
They don't have. Yeah.
It was just very interesting. And Bonnie, one of the few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on. Reason being is because she used to bare a breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman. Told you she was badass.
She was badass.
Names of her parents: William Cormack, Mary Brennan. You weren't expecting a secondary Mary, which is part of the reason why I leave that part of it out. I already told you I'm not going to play any more subliminal messages, but we already have Reed on there, on my word list. So hopefully we have Mary and something else about her to verify. I also like to show you the original Captain Jack Sparrow, which is Calico Jack. Everybody likes to see what he actually looked like. He was named that because of the jackets that he wore. They came from the British captains that he killed. His father was
So he mixed
that's
them all,
cool.
calico.
Right. His father was a textile, whatever that, a tailor, basically. But textiles were very important to them. So, again,
He was a classy pirate.
yeah, very classy. What's weird is because one of the pirate stories from here in Charleston deals with the gentleman pirate, and he was named that because he was a plantation owner. He was basically using piracy to ship his own goods and didn't have to pay for it. So he was called the gentleman pirate because he wore a wig and he, had his clap shoes on, and he did not look like a pirate at all. His name was Steed Bonnet. But Calico Jack basically translates to fancy jacket. So that's why he's called Calico Jack. The name of his ship, the Kingston. So obviously there's a city, Kingston, down in the islands. But again, with the Kingston, I'm not expecting that to come through on a spirit box. The word king would suffice here. We have had, I have another spirit box that does that ANC, that auto noise canceling, and the first night we used it, somebody's handing it back to me to pack away, and it comes up with the word pirate, plain as day, not part of a sentence, just a statement, pirate. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And that one doesn't record, but they were next to the person with the thermal imaging camera, so we at least had the audio from the camera, so I was pretty stoked about that. But again, I think I have had instances where the thermal camera was filming me and the person that was using your device, and that had white lines go over, say, Tammy, and then her device stopped working. That happened twice. We walk away 5 to 10 feet, and then all of a sudden it goes right back to it. Your device takes 4 button pushes to get it to record. That's turning it on, getting the radio sweep going in the right direction, and then tapping the record button, and then volume. It was already back to record once we got away from that space. Like, it looked like it died, like the battery fell out of it. Like, I couldn't get it to do anything. We walked away 5-10 feet, started working again, and it was already
Didn't have
recording.
an EV going at the time?
I did, but nothing came through that I saw. But your camera, literally, like, if we were standing next to each other, there's white lines that just went down, like old static TV. Like, and I was fine. It was just over that person, and all of a sudden that thing stops 2 seconds later. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. Again, just shit I can't explain. So, what other questions do you have? I'm going to start gathering up your devices. You guys were a blast, by the way. I don't always get to have this much conversation and fun, and I appreciate that.
I'm sure lots of people.
Well, when I have the larger groups, they're just focused. Like, because I do talk a lot, and I talk fast. So I notice, like, people they just stay focused because there's a lot going on.